Whoa, Dad, go, Dad.
That's right. Welcome to Whoa Dad, Go Dad. My name's Dave Momper. I'm your host. This is a fatherhood podcast for new dads and soon-to-be dads. I'm a new dad myself, and I'm asking every day, great dads, what does it take? What does it truly take to take on the ultimate role? All right, let's get to it. Ryan Bramwell, welcome to Whoa Dad, Go Dad. How we doing, buddy?
Good, Mr. Mopper. How are you?
Pretty good. I'm not quite in the mountains. I'm on the edge of the Rocky Mountains in Golden, Colorado, and you, my friend, happen to be in Steamboat Springs, Colorado.
That is very correct.
What a great place to live.
It's amazing. Yeah. We have some of the best mountain biking and trails just right outside our house.
That Champagne Powder, the Yampa, the Elk River. You make it up to Clark, Colorado much? Do you know where that
We
is?
do. They have that little post office. And
Yeah.
they've got great breakfast burritos up there too.
In a previous life, it feels like there was once the world that got me into this career I'm in was leadership development, and there was a guest ranch up there called the Home Ranch. It still exists. They no longer do. It's a working ranch now, but they would bring corporate retreats up there, and I spent a week riding horses and learning about how to be a productive professional. And the Clark County store right there, the post office, you got ice cream, you got like just a magical little place. That whole valley's amazing. So
Yeah, it is. And we spend a lot of time up there at, did you ever go to Pearl Lake?
well, what's the other big lake up there? I guess I don't know what Pearl Lake is. I think
There's Steamboat Lake, and then which is the big lake, and then right near it there's Pearl Lake, which is non-motorized, and we're out there all summer on paddle
Is
boards
that-
and fishing.
on the right. Do you go right instead of
If you're
left?
going north in Haas Peak, it'll be off to the right.
Yeah, I think I know. I think I can picture it. I don't know what it was called, but it's magical up there. All right, man. Let's give people just a little bit of context. We had such a good warm-up conversation that I want to get right into things, but we happen to know each other from a creative services industry here in Denver, Colorado. At one point, you guys officed adjacent to Postmodern company. Ben Seymour was on the podcast earlier. We got to run into each other a decent amount, and happy hours and Sauce Society. Like, those are some good memories. And then you're in the creative services industry historically, and to a degree still. But for the dads listening, you happen to now be crafting tools for adventurous dads. What's your current project?
Yeah, my current project, I kind of got out of the creative circuit about 2 years ago. I'm still consulting here and there, but my specialty is building brands and really building products for target markets that really, a lot of my clients really want to feel connected to the brand these days. So this new project we're working on is called Milk and Whiskey, and it's really geared towards outdoor couple and dads to really feel prepared to get out on the trail with their new children at a young age. And we offer a really, really high-end family adventure backpack that has a diaper changing add-on, so you can really do everything with them on the trail. Even has like a cooler in it. And then we also offer 2 lines of really high-end technical apparel, a sun protective hoodie and kind of a warm grid fleece hoodie. But really what we're seeing here and why I created this brand and these products is when we had our child, we really wondered what we're going to do that first 1 or 2 years to be in the outdoors as much as possible with this little one in tow. And now we have to have another soul that we need to make sure they survive on even a mile hike. Those fears go through our heads. And there wasn't much gear out there. That was really great. And it's been an amazing journey so far. I'm pretty much have started from scratch learning manufacturing and design of a physical product and fit and material and logistics. It's been a wild ride in less than 2 years. Yeah.
Cool for you to reinvent yourself at this point in your life a little bit, and I'll ask you more about that, yeah, in our conversation, I bet. And then to see a really nicely done like product, I feel like that's this new age we're in where there's all these mass produced things for raising kids, and you could kind of sense the quality of stuff is, you know, sufficient, you might say. It's going to last for the time the kid needs it, for say like a year before they grow out of whatever it is.
Mhm.
But then there's these really well done uh products that almost you could imagine like passing it down to, your kid or something like that. And maybe not everything, but this backpack you're telling me about just sounds like it's like a craft more than it is a product.
It's like a Swiss Army knife backpack. So like, and it came out of when we were trying to, testing products to even just travel on airplanes, let alone parks and trails. We tried one of the cheaper diaper bags you can find on Amazon, and it fell apart in less than a month. We ended up using an assortment of like our standard backpacks, and I wanted to build something that wasn't wasted and thrown away after 2 years after that potty training phase, and something that really stood the test of time, much like our, backpacking backpacks that we'll do overnights with.
Well, right on, man. Congrats on pivoting and taking your skills to a new place. And I'm watching on Instagram that brand grow, so that's awesome to see you doing that.
Thank you.
So I'm curious, just right off the bat, thinking about the last, I don't know, 30 days of your life as a father, what has been the most interesting, challenging moment in the last 30 days for Daddy Bromwell?
As a father or with my son?
Fair distinction. You tell me. You tell me.
I think as a father, my son's 8. His mind goes so fast. He sucks up everything. Everything's very easy for him. For me right now, and with an 8-year-old is really just slowing down, um, really trying to think through what he's doing, especially at school, because he goes a mile a minute. And really starting to kind of build some of those kind of responsibilities as an 8-year-old. A friend of mine told me that an 8-year-old son, boy, uh, it's a really pivotal age for them. They're really striking out for independence. Uh, they're really trying to be their own person. They're gaining confidence to be out by themselves. And so we get a lot of pushback recently, even if it's like I hate you, that lasts for like 10 seconds. Uh, but they still want the cuddles. They still want to be held. They still want to be loved. And it's very interesting. And I would say, as a father, too, some patience there, patience and grace for both myself and him. He's dealing with emotions that he still can't control. And I need to constantly daily practice not being reactive to that and just understanding that, he still loves me.
How's that going for you? I mean, how well do you handle it? And then what kind of lessons are in that experience?
This has been specifically for 6 months, I think. I think at first it was really, really challenging because it would trigger, all the defensive mechanisms in me. Uh, and I would become kind of short with them. But as we've kind of really focused on this, it's been opportunities and moments for me to get down to his level and kind of talk through him on like what he's feeling and how his emotions are. And it's become a little bit easier for me to, I guess, detach from that really, quick will as dads to like just react and go into the, oh no, you didn't mode, you know?
Yeah. I feel like as men, often we want to fix things. It's pretty inherent in our nature, and that's what we're trying to do often. If I'm hearing you right, you're just gonna try to fix it. But can you actually deploy instead of that, like a calming force? You're still guiding them, I suspect. You're still guiding your little dude, but it's not about him, in that particular moment doing something different. It's in service of next week or a year from now. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say, and it's a really challenging thing to see the long game, especially for, like you said, it's somebody like me that wants to fix every problem. It causes more problems sometimes, and it started being easier for me when I realized there's nothing really to fix. It's just
Wow.
all we can do is have the guidance and be a rock for them and do the best we can to like instill some of these, I guess, kind of self-objective like looks within as much as we can for an 8-year-old.
Yeah, okay. What does that sound like? How do you prompt him to look within? What's the language for an 8-year-old? You know what I mean? And I have my brother has a 7-year-old who's about to be 8, May 9th. I'm just trying to think about how it might sound to ask him to look within. Do you have any thoughts?
It's still in progress, to be honest. But I think what I've noticed the shift down when it's the two of us, when they get into that very emotional, very short state, and he has a mind that it's a very like very kind of reactive mind, very rigid mindset is number one, it's my body language. What I'm a very tall guy, and I think that doesn't help. So one of the big things I do is get down on my knees and get eye to eye at a level so that there's not that difference. That's been huge for me. Um, I take pauses with him now when he's reactive. If he asks a question or even is communicating as an 8-year-old does when they're ramped up, I'll take pauses in my breath and kind of look at him. Um, with softer eyes, I think that pause helps him to calm down and breathe. And then I ask him what he's feeling like, if he can name it, and just why do you think you're feeling like that? And that's very challenging in itself, um, because they can't name all their emotions. They don't know why. Um, but it allows them some space to just know that at the very least, I'm on his team forever and always.
Oh, that's beautiful, dude. That's the ultimate takeaway you want, I suppose, right? I got your back. You can count on me. I'm your guy.
I hope when he's 30 or 40 and he's my age, he's still calling me and we're just best buds.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, you're being quite intentional about things, and that's probably the only thing we can really do. I was like, how do you guarantee it? I don't know. I don't know if you can, right? But you can be really intentional and thoughtful. You're on your way to that at least.
Yeah, the guarantee thing. So a big thing with me throughout my life and owning, a very fast-paced company for many years is you try to guarantee things, and it's a control. It's all control. And it's a very hard transition to go from control to more faith, and like faith in yourself and faith in your relationship with your children. Because you have to give up some of that control and just play that long game and just, you be clear about your intentions. For me, it's when he's 40 that we're best buds. And that's all my actions. I try to remember that and put myself in that place when he's 40. Um, and everything I can do, these little things to build up towards that.
Bear with me on this as I'm thinking through it, because it's not necessarily that means that you're best buds between now and then, so to speak. Like, you need to still be a dad. I'm just thinking about, I've heard this distinction between being a friend and being a father, right? There, in any given moment, what the moment call for. Um, and, at a certain point, I imagine as a teenager, they don't even want to be your friends with you, or, I don't know what the exact, time for, but the goal isn't necessarily to be best friends, say tomorrow, on behalf of being best friends when you're 40. There's going to be some challenging dynamics, and the relationship calls for different things, I suspect. I loved how you just noted, as a father, as a business guy, running a creative agency, control was something you're yearning for in any given moment. And kind of, you operate historically from a sense of control. But fatherhood slaps a little, and it teaches us, and
Yeah.
you're better served to operate on, you called it faith. And, the opposite of control is either faith or letting go. Or, so I suppose, where else is that theme showing up for you as a father, as a business guy, in life in general these days, as a 40 something dude? Letting go is actually what's in control, not much else.
Yeah. Yeah, the control, especially in fatherhood, like for a lot of men and dads that are probably listening to this, in a company, it's based either off fear, um, or success, or wanting to be success, because you don't want to let your client down. You want to hit those deadlines, you want to do really great. And so you set up systems around and processes to ensure the most success possible. To a degree, we can do that as fathers, but if it's based off of fear, there's this old saying that whatever persists, or what is it? Whatever you resist will persist. And I think that's, a company is one thing, but this is an independent soul that has no use for systems. They're kids. Like, have fun. Um, what's helped me is to delineate being a buddy and a dad. So if I have to be a dad, an 8-year-old, it's, he's getting older. I want him to have more responsibility in the house. So it's like, if he doesn't like it, and I'm like, I name it. I'm like, hey, bud, I have to be a dad right now. That's also my role, you know, and we can have our fun times as well. Does that answer?
Yeah, I like how you're separating it or calling it out. Like, I'm in dad mode, and this is how we got to do things. But
Mhm.
you're still being a lot less, a lot more faithful in that behavior than controlling. Um,
Yeah, I have I have faith as, past 3 years, even an 8-year-old. I think the big thing of faith, within our relationship is sometimes we're prone to possibly think that our children are intentionally doing something. They're intentionally forgetting to, I don't know, clean up, or they're talking back to you. And like, I think part of this and faith is that, with him, is that he's not intentionally, he's a very good child. He's very well mannered, and cares, and just having a little bit of that grace with him, that when he does have those outbursts, is all you dads know, happens weekly, daily, that they're trying to process these huge, very big and small emotions. And he's at school a lot, and there might be 5 or 6 things that would happen to him that stressed him out during the day, that you just happen to be around when he couldn't take it anymore. And just for me lately, it's just been being there, and helping to instill some faith in me, that I'm just there to like listen, and not judge. And he's got like, I say buddy, but he's got like a confidant, you know.
yeah, and to stay neutral and poised and composed, and be a rock for our kiddos. It's like the calm in the storm. It's a great observation. As an 8-year-old, I'm trying to remember exactly what my life was like. Um,
I don't remember.
yeah, I had just
And I'm
moved.
not a rock in the storm either. Like this is a learning curve, right?
Totally, but to at least put that image out there, the concept out there, and strive to be a little bit more like that. Yeah, I had just moved from I guess it would have been Tucson, Arizona to Kremlin, Colorado, where you are close to on the way to Steamboat is Kremlin, Colorado, as an 8th grader. A lot of different, especially with a big move too. I'm just trying to think how many things I was processing and feelings, thoughts and feelings at that point in life, making sense of the world. And as dads, can we recognize that's what's happening with a boy or a girl, and then actually create clarity with our energy levels, with our contributions, rather than make it more cumbersome on them. There's something about like being that figure for our kiddo at that point in their life, and trusting. I love, like, of course, he's not walking around like making plans to ruin your day or something. Like he's not like, mapping out how to trap his dad or something. But he's still going to have struggles, and you got to guide him through that with your energy and your voice and your size. Even I'm a big dude too. I'm thinking, getting down on their level. Massive.
We have to do that somehow when we've had a stressful day and have gone through 9 or 10 things that a lot of us just hold it inside. And then somehow we have to find a way to either get that out or put that aside for our children. And I think that's probably one of the most challenging things I've worked on with him. I'm a creative. I mean, I'm a reactive person too at times.
And in many ways, it serves you well, I bet, right? It's like, but becoming truly the captain of your own ship. It's funny. It's like fatherhood's actually not that hard. Being a parent's not that hard. It's doing that while also being an adult with a bunch of responsibilities and pressures and stresses and worries and hopes and, challenges. That's what's hard.
Yeah, I agree.
So I asked you, as we were getting coordinated, I want to read this out. What does it mean to be a legendary father? In a sentence or two, tell me what you think. And you wrote, wow, question. Through the lens of when all is said and done, I want my child to know that for his entire life, he knows he is the most important thing to me. I want him to know that respect is earned, not given. When we support others to make them greater, it makes us greater, and that the right choice is most likely not the easy choice.
Yeah.
How's it going teaching him that?
I mean, you asked that last week, and you reading it back to me gets me emotional. Like, those are all things that I work on with myself now, and want to instill on him. And I don't know how far I am teaching him, but it's something that if at the end of the day those are there, I'll have left this plane of existence satisfied.
No, like the ripple effect plus abundance mentality in there. I was thinking about it, right? When you support others to make them greater.
There's on that one, there's 2 thoughts of leadership I think we have as both men and dads, and one is I guess I'm losing track of words, but like just you're the leader and everybody does what you say.
Yeah.
And
Control,
best.
and conquer, authority style.
Authoritative, yeah, and that works well in a lot of companies and sometimes families. I'm not sure. And then there's the other type of leadership where you hire people that you know are better than you are, and your role as a leader is to support them and make them greater because it makes the greater whole.
What do we call that, by the way? Because one's authoritative leadership, the other would be what?
I don't know, support and service.
Yeah, like servant leadership, or to
Yeah,
me, it was collaborative leadership. Sounds
yeah,
like, right?
yeah, there you go. Yeah, I always, I always thought that was in my old companies felt that's what I really wanted to do.
I bet.
Yeah, a lot of young talent would come in and I feel like too, I hope at the end of the day, even outside the family, that leaves a mark on them. You know, they had an opportunity and they were, you know, they were better for it.
Sure. You mean some of your past employees and colleagues?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think if we can grow up children, both boys and girls, to do that, and we all do that, then that's a really positive um thing we can do as parents that can start to grow and quantify across our culture.
Big time.
Yeah.
So I know that in the last, see, what year is it? 2024. And so sometime over the last 5 years, you were struck by some interesting, say, life factors, and that so to what degree can you indulge me in those? Tell us a little bit about things that affected your thinking and your philosophies. They led you, whatever they were, that you can tell us about. They led you to Steamboat,
Oh yeah.
and that was partly on behalf of raising your son in a different environment than where you were. So I'm curious also about what caused it, and then the values that you hold that you feel like this environment is best suited to bring those to life.
Yeah, I'm totally open about all this, so thanks for asking. I think, you know, I had been working, leading our company for many years, and I was taking a sabbatical because I'd been doing it. I was burned out. And kind of starting to evaluate like what's satisfying in my life. During this sabbatical, my brother chose to end his life. And what became a sabbatical became, you know, going through the process of funerals, loss, property, um, and just somebody that had chose to, my brother, at the end of the day, I loved him dearly, but, he had chose, there's a choice to eliminate all options on the table. So that was a really heavy thing. I went, and it made you look really clearly at, um, who you are. Like it changes your identity in a way because my identity was as an older brother, and I don't have a younger brother anymore. So there was a really deep identification change in that. My son had not seen it, will not be able to see his uncle anymore, and they had a really close bond. He was 1.5-ish. Um, and really gets clear of we've got one shot at this life. So there's no that veil of we should be doing something, like we should get married, start a family, have a kid, we should live in the suburbs, we should be working 9 to 5, kind of is turns into a bunch of bullshit real quick, like real quick. And when you realize that, you realize there's a huge world of opportunities out there. So at that time, in this case, I was 12 hours a day in the office working, burned out, going through this, and we looked to Steamboat, where we spent a lot of time up here at when we thought the market was high, um, and decided to recreate a whole new life, with the outdoors being a place of well-being, health, recreation, physical, and a place where our son could appreciate the outdoors in the same way that my parents instilled in me, which was, I think, was really important to our family. Um, so we made the move up there. And then COVID happened, and as everybody did a lot of self-reflecting during COVID, I'm sure. Um,
Missed out if you didn't.
yeah, you really did. Or you just drank all the way through it. But, yeah, even since then, I looked at my own drinking. I had quit drinking. I had put health and well-being, fitness. So every aspect of my life had gone through kind of a major change, physical, family where we're living, and then my company. I realized I had been at my company for so long, and I was in a place of stagnation. And it wasn't fulfilling. And that itself took me 4 years to get through my own stubbornness. Um, to even after my brother to really break through and say, there's a million ways to find fulfillment and financial monetary things in this life, and we just have to go do it. So I ended up selling it to my partner who's doing an amazing job at it. They are kicking butt and I'm just stoked. My son's now up here. He's in the winter sports program. Um,
I mean,
which
steamboats were Olympians already. Oh,
this comes to that program. So Um, although he took off this year because he's not, we don't want to push him and break him out, but it was an extreme life change of that. And it really comes down, I think I'm still at the lens of, um, you know, what can we do in the life to have our most fulfillment? What is it that we want to be known for or feel like, or at the end of our roads, we build ourselves in the relationship with friends and family and our children, and what steps can we take, what fierce steps can we take to do those. um and there's a lot of work there because I found that there's a lot of things that our culture um provides as visual things that aren't really fulfilling and really real, you know.
every, not everything's a facade, but much of what we're tempted with is just a facade. It's just superficial, isn't it?
It feels like that, um, sometimes, but for better or for worse. Um, I think a lot of people thought I was crazy when I sold the company. I stand today, like, with no regrets for it. I've put myself in a place of learning as a child again, um, in something completely new. And my son gets to see this, and I communicate to him. He sometimes our children sometimes think that, like, daddy is the greatest and he can do no wrong. I tell him, no, there's a lot of hard work. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm learning. It's a, this perseverance and learning is probably one of the most important. You gotta find to fake it till you make it or learn until you make it.
Yeah.
And he's gone through this journey with me. It's been amazing.
Do you remember thinking about your parents? Imagine like when you were whatever, 8, 10, 12, and thinking that they were, they had, as an adult, there's this perception if you're a kiddo that's adults have it figured out, so to speak. Did you have the perception that they were a work in progress and did you admire that? Do you remember that at 10? I don't remember that at 10.
At
I just,
10, yeah, I think I did for a bit, but at 10, my parents they separated at 10. And I don't know if there was like a lack of perfection, but there was an independence that was created there. That there's things um going on. I think it was later on, probably closer to preteens and high school, where I wanted to, push back a bit and be like, "Oh, Dad doesn't know anything."
yeah, of course, of course. I'm
And then
just
you're
thinking
like,
of in his, gosh, when he was, funny enough, I was 12 when my dad was 40, if I'm doing my math right. And to think of my dad as someone trying to sort out his career, figure out who he is a little bit, although he is fairly convicted young man, my mom and my dad, both very convicted, but at the same time, growing up and still, I feel as a 43-year-old man, I'm like, gosh, I have so much, there's still so much more about myself to discover and uncover. And and explore. I'm not set in my ways. I'm not necessarily going to do the same thing forever. And you said I wrote this down when we were prepping. Am I going to do the same thing my entire life? That question was like laying on top of you. Hold it, and
It
how
was.
what an amazing time of life to realize, like, not necessarily, not if I don't want to. I get to do whatever the heck I want.
Yeah, there's a
If
beauty in
I have the
that.
courage to do it, right?
Well, yeah, this is like, yeah, courage. I mean, there's not a day goes by that I'm not like, holy shit, this is scary. But in that kind of fear, if you can use fear, especially in being a father, as a tool to not disengage or not create an excuse to not do something in life, which is really common and subconscious. But if we can intentionally use that fear and just identify it and say, like, okay, I got you. I see that. And then use that as a propelling force to do something new. Those incremental things that you do against your fear after a while, like, man, you can create some cool stuff. Right. I I launched in this fear every day being fearful. Doing that, I not only launched one very complex product, design, manufacturing, finding all that, but actually three. And not knowing I can do this and those thoughts of like, oh my God, I can't, I take that into somebody told me this same philosophy. Somebody made this really clear to me. They said, our children, it's the first time they're being a child. Obviously, each day is like the first time. And, you know, also it's your first day for being a dad that day, you know? So like, we're all going to be fearful. Give yourself some grace.
That's certainty in every day of life for us.
Yeah. And I think it's okay to like tell our kids that, like, sorry, dad, this is the first time daddy's taking you down a ski mountain. Like, I don't know what I'm doing.
So yeah, tell me more about some of the recent firsts you've enjoyed with your son. Like as a dad, the first, if you've been living up there, you've probably been skiing, so that the first ski slope was actually years ago, I would guess.
That was years ago. That was
Yeah, what
really
are
cute.
some of the recent firsts?
Recently, so I have him in scouts up here, and one of the recent firsts that just blew his mind is we did an overnight at the aquarium where we camped out under the fishes.
I don't know.
Just blew their mind, which is really incredible. Last summer, um, was the first time I took him downhill on the mountain, on the downhill trails.
Okay.
Which agreeing, it's pretty intimidating. Yeah, that's pretty intimidating. Um, and a few falls, but he loved it at the end of it. Um, I think it feels like a lot of firsts recently have been overcoming fear, like pushing through that, like especially between like 5, 6, 7, and 8. If your kid's either going to be like super crazy and has no concept of injury, or they're too much in their head. It feels both will give you injury.
Right.
I think those have been really great. He's a big project-based mind, like an engineering STEM-based mind. So there's been a lot of first in robotics, where he's been coding and he's really seeing what his hard work has done.
Wow, cool.
Yeah, it's cool. There's a ton of firsts. The first never end. It's cool.
Yeah, the ongoing first. It's fun. It's I'm looking forward to, and little Leo can, he's got his little first. I'm trying to think what would be his significant first. Well, he crawled all the way over me just the other day, and right now he's like with Lieutenant Danning through the house where he's not really using his feet. He's just army crawling around, but he crawled all the way over me. Had to use his knees. So recent first.
That those little ones, like I think celebrating the first, like no matter how small, is so important. You know, it's really
I mean,
cool. I think last year he was in baseball, and baseball was really challenging because he knew some of the rules but didn't know some of them. So there was a lot of bad first and good first. Like good first is he like was hitting the ball like in his first game, like hit it 3 times. He was really happy. Same game, bad first is he was on second and put his foot off the bag and got out. And it was like
oh,
huge blow up. Um, and even though it's bad first, it's a good time. It was a good time to still like, it's not you, you're part of the team or learn and grow from it. That conversation did not go down as easy as I just said. It was a roller coaster of a game, but yeah,
it's like you probably learned. Yeah, that's called learning the hard way, right? It's like you're
yeah,
probably not going to do that again, or you're going to do
ever
that.
again.
You're going to do that only instead of all the time. You're going to do that only one more time. I guarantee it, or never again, hopefully. So tell me a little bit about your philosophy as a dad that you feel like, surrounding your son with adventure, the outdoors, physical activity, all these things. I'm trying to extrapolate a little bit, but what's your philosophy and value set that you feel like you can truly bring to life for him uniquely the way you're doing up there? And then where's that stem from? What kind of influences did you have? Father figures, experiences with, growing up that led you to hold the values you do hold.
Yeah. Well, my father instilled all the outdoors in me. Like growing up, that's all we did was camp. We were at Steamboat when we were 4 or 5 years old. After my parents separated, it was a big deal for him. So that was something really major I wanted to bring to the table. I think the outdoors specifically is a place to really build confidence, um, problem solve, overcome challenges, the physical attributes of it. It's, it's a, I'm kind of like sighing right now because it's a really challenging thing. Like, because now I'm battling video games with him, you know. Um, but I mean, the past, let's say like last year, mountain biking was starting to get serious where they start climbing, right? That mental mind state of looking up the hill and I can't do it because you're looking at this giant hill. And instead of focusing on the small steps,
Mm.
the segments to get that up and hard work to get to that uphill, I think is a core mental tool that is being lost in our generation by the ass load because of fucking iPhones and video games. Like I don't see hard work and the journey of hard work being rewarded or focus being put on that over the objective or goal or reward at the end. It's all about how can I get to the goal fast. And for me, it's like the journey of it. I showed him, we did my first mountain bike race last year, and he saw it and he saw how much work I put into it. And I love the journey of it. You're pushing yourself over. The outdoors is also a place of quiet and like real true exploration, and safety for your own body. Uh, and I think the quiet attribute of it, especially in nature, is something that a growing brain just requires an abundance of. Um, and that's kind of the core thing. I mean, apart from like the, respecting the land and stewardship of that kind of place, for me, this outdoors, the fresh air, even if it's a walk in the park in your backyard, the mental and emotional benefits that has on children and adults is mind blowing. It's just like go outside. Go get some fresh air.
Zero downside.
And it's
So
free.
Wow. Wow. And he's can he appreciate the contrast? Do you come down to the city and he's able to kind of comprehend the different lifestyles, or is he doesn't necessarily know this is where he lives? He probably enjoys it, but he doesn't necessarily know the the realm he's in is magic.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, they have no idea
Yeah.
how lucky they are. Like how lucky we are. Just the timing worked out. But like, I mean, he loved the city because of the hustle and bustle. But we're outdoors in Denver all the time. Uh, I I think there's more to see and do in the city. You know, he's all about the urban jungle parks and the trampoline parks.
There. That's good stuff though. So what is some of the inspiration that you hold that guides you as a father? Where did you, and there's always like, well, I learned this because someone did it well, and I learned this because someone didn't do it well. But this is how, so where's your inspiration? What's the foundation of some of your value sets? You got your folks, you got your own firsthand accounts, firsthand adventures. What really guided you and inspired you to be the dad you are today?
That's a really good question. The outdoors is for my dad. I think the honesty, trying to be brutally honest with yourself, came from my mom. I think after my brother's passing, I had done a lot of really powerful men's group work, and I continue to do today. And it just really helped me get clear on what type of man I want to be and what I want to be known for and how I want to feel. Um, and through that work, I got really clear with your question, the intention of, the father. Um, and to be quite honest, there's some things in me that I've had growing up as a human being that are an antithesis of who I want to be. So a part of it is driven by past versions of me that I just was disgusted by on certain portions. And you're like, stuff doesn't fly. We were all in college and high school. We can, um, and I a lot of my I would say a lot of fathers that I know, both in the groups or there's a really and just what I've been seeing lately is there's a really good movement of dads that are taking active roles in our society, especially in that first year. I know you're one of them because you're doing this podcast,
Hmm.
And we want to try to be, especially the first few months, it's hard, man. It's hard. Um, but we want to take more of that active role. We don't want to be the guys that, do the madman, come home after a hard day work and, dinner's ready and like put the kids to sleep. Like we want something more, which is pretty awesome.
Oh, well, yeah, my current the way my time is spent, I have more control over my time, I suppose, than the average, especially like an 8 to 5 type of career move. You any given day, I could be, a big chunk of time wide open. I can do work. I could go play. I could go for a walk. I could spend it with Leo. I can combine those. So I'm savoring that. The first couple, they've been hard months in ways. And new. Everything about the last 6 months has been so new because we've never experienced it, that you're kind of like just being, even if it's not hard, it's new. So there's just all that going on. And fortunately, I've been able to be with Leo pretty much the entire time. I've had a few business trips out of town, My wife and I both work from home otherwise, and we get to just soak up and watch and be there and almost savor the early days. It's not necessarily the arrangement for everybody, but it's been an absolute gift for us.
Yeah, I think like I'm good at like what's the best way to say this? I think if I'm really honest, that first year, and this is I I hope some of your listeners are picking up on this. When you have your child, that first few months is difficult. And I think for me, I found myself like going into hyper work mode. And I think that first year I was caught in between like wanting to help, but also working really, really hard, like harder. And then I would be burnt out when I got back because I was running that company. And I think to answer your other question, you know, one of the things I didn't like about that first year is that I kind of didn't give as much energy in the home, um, even though I was giving all my energy for the family and the home in a different aspect. And I think, you know, looking back on that, it was like, you know, there's probably a lot there that I could have done, and but I was still active. I mean, we did a ton of, you know, we had them camping at 3 months, and I did my best. But I think looking back, there's probably, um, you know, just be mindful of that. I think fathers are still prone to like, I have a family now, and there's something that triggers us to like, we have to go hyper work mode. I don't know.
Well, I think that uh, what's the best way to say it? It's almost like for every unit of energy you put into work mode, there's a direct correlation to your contribution. You like the most apparent contribution you can make on the dynamic. Just being loving and hanging out. You're like, well, yes, that's needed, but the correlation in my mind isn't the same. Like, so I feel like work for me, I've actually got, what's the best way to say it? I've got more clarity and conviction about some things that I've been working on. I've been kind of like out here, and I was like, because I'm like, oh, now I really see and appreciate what's at stake in life, and build. You know, I'm kind of being a lot more focused, and I just happen to have a lot more flexibility, so I can do a little bit of both. But I've felt myself working harder and more deliberately because I got to raise a family now. I get to raise a family now, but at the
So
same
what?
time, I can appreciate just holding them. You know, it's nice, but there's no like, is this really the contribution, the greatest contribution? Is it, you know, building an
Yeah.
empire, or is it coddling my kiddo? What in the moment, what's the greatest contribution? That tussle in our minds, the math that we do as fathers is it's interesting.
It is challenging. So I'd like to ask you that kind of same question for you as a father and who you want to be. Who do you think what inspired you or what was your influence?
Oh, well, you said it
Such a
nicely.
great
I feel like
question.
I can kind of resonate with the like I want to set him up to be um you know what is it, a value add? You know, I want him, for every unit of energy he puts into the world, I want it to be a multiplier, an amplifier of goodness versus taking. So it's like I want to teach him that attitude, those values, and even with his craft, whatever his contribution is from like a work standpoint, I suppose. Yeah, I just want to teach him to operate in an abundance mindset, and to be of service to other people. Right? That's what perpetuates our world. Is if we're all giving each other a little bit more than we're getting, then there's there's a positive ripple effect.
Mhm.
And then I want to teach them to be just bold and audacious um, I love the idea of teaching your little son to appreciate the mountain. And I'm trying to picture what that as like a little kid, you see the mountain and you're like, wow, that looks hard. It's inconceivable that I could summit that mountain unless I almost have the right attitude, unless I can, you know, and until you can get them to experience it, I suppose it'd be funny to sit at the bottom of a mountain and say, here's how you need to think about it in order to conquer that mountain, and for it just to click for them. That's not going to happen. It's
Mhm.
like that plus guiding them to actually physically endure the journey. Um, so I definitely want some resilience and the persistence, those attributes, because the world is full of uncertainty, chaos, hardship, and I want them to be able to overcome those things, come out on the other end.
Yeah, the mountain's
I
such a good metaphor. It really is. Like, if it's the same trail on the metaphor or on the mountain, I mean, there's so many things. There's the step by step. There's the, find landmarks that are smaller, maybe a quarter of the way. Try to get there first. If you fail, come back and try again. All sorts of things.
But the other big calling, I suppose, is the tone and perception around masculinity and raising or like strong men is it bums me out. Let's put it that way.
Oh, me
So,
too.
I want to raise a kiddo who can grow into a great man that can, yeah, without hesitation, be strong and vigorous and powerful and and but yet graceful and kind and loving, like the
Mm,
combo, right? And have the courage to maybe call out the world a little bit when it's upside down and inside out. Be able to see that, and then not necessarily cater to some of the bad habits our society seems to be caught up in a little bit. So I don't know. You feel you mentioned it early on, like raising uh raising like a masculine son in a world where somehow there's like hesitancy to do that. What's your take on that task and that journey?
Um, I think it's leading by example there. I think one of the biggest things for masculine energy is your word is everything. So
Mm.
it's that simple. We keep our promises. We do what we say we're going to do, and I think it's just a moral character that I think we need to strive. Um, and it doesn't matter if it's a boy, a man, woman, boy, girl, or anything in between. I think those are values that us as a human culture, with all of our variances, can strive to achieve. Um, you know, I don't think, with everything going on, I don't think that like values and strong moral conviction is like it's not a gender thing.
Sure.
So it's just a decent human being. Um, you know, the masculinity thing is, you know, I think at least for us as Bramwells, I think we work as hard as we can for our family. We protect our family. We do what we say we're going to do. We help lift those up as much as we can. Uh, mm, we put up healthy boundaries, and we work through action. not through our words. And at the same time, we can be smartasses and have fun and make fun of each other. Like, um, and I think one of the key points that I'm still learning is to shut up and listen. Like, you don't gotta fix it. Just shut up and listen. You
Yeah. And it's funny how much other people are willing to fill in when we do that, or to speak up, or to share, or to open up. And that's gonna serve you well, especially as your little boy comes into his teen years. He's making sense of the world. And so, final question to set us up here. I want you to think of years and years ahead. You've got your son sharing stories about you with future generations. You're not in the room for whatever reason. This is like when he's 60, 70, he's telling tales of his father, Ryan Bramwell. What are the 3 things you're known for that are story worthy?
Such a good question. I think one would have to be something around, he would say, I remember that time my dad took me on the stupid ass vacation up in the woods backpacking, and rained on us, and it sucked and I didn't want to be there, but at the end of the trip it was awesome, and because of this, that, and this.
Yeah.
I think the other one would be he showed me what it's like, what it means to start a company. Showed me that the people within your company are greater and make greater sums, and taught me to take risks in that. And I think the third one was that I was always honest and open with him about the mistakes I made in life, and was clear about the detriment of those mistakes and choices. And it helped him learn to work around those. Yeah.
Sounds
I
like
did some bad stuff so he didn't have to.
Oh, I wish we had more time. I want to know about this
Me
bad
too.
stuff.
Yeah.
That's the truth. Lead by example resonates with me right there, right? In so many ways, that's the essence of it all. So, Mr. Bramwell, thank you for your time on Whoa Dad Go Dad. It's awesome talking to you about fatherhood, catching up, rekindling a connection we had from the creative days in Denver. And I'm so happy that you're living it up in Steamboat. You're doing well.
Dave, it's a pleasure. I had an amazing conversation, and I hope your viewers get some nuggets out of this. And I'm grateful that you called and connected. So it's just incredible for me. Thanks.
There you have it. That's been another episode of Whoa Dad Go Dad. If you like what you're hearing, hit the like button, subscribe to the podcast so you get the future ones, and please spread the word and post this episode to your social networks. That's powerful. Perhaps the best thing you can do is share this directly with a new dad or a soon-to-be dad that you know personally. Let them know you're rooting them on. And indeed, drop a comment and be really a part of this dialogue on fatherhood with me. Let me know in the comments a question you want me to ask other dads, or just some feedback. How does this sound to you? What's helpful? What stands out about these conversations? I would appreciate that intel as I grow Whoa Dad Go Dad. I've got many more episodes to come, and I'm so glad you're here. Looking forward to catching you on the next one.
Whoa, Dad, go, Dad, here we go now. Oh, yeah, the ultimate roll.